Am I the asshole for refusing to help my ex discipline our daughter? Throwaway account. I, 41 male, have a 13-year-old daughter, Mandy, with my ex-wife, Jane, 37 female. I would say post-divorce we had a decent relationship and were cordial for our daughter's sake, but everything changed the day Jane started dating her current husband, Tom, 47 male. I guess she needed to prove to him that she was over me by becoming hostile, because I for the life of me can't explain what else could be the reason for her becoming so angry and refusing to follow the custody agreement anymore. Because of my job at the time she had primary custody, but I was supposed to get every other weekend and summers while we alternated holidays. I had to take my ex to court twice and was just grateful that former Mill was on my side and wouldn't allow Jane to feed Mandy lies about me. I tried to be patient and forgiving in the beginning, but eventually Jane pushed me too far, and now I just handle her with cold aloofness and documenting as much as I can when interacting with her. During the pandemic, Tom and Jane lost their respective jobs and were in danger of losing the house. Jane took me to court for more child support, which I wasn't going to fight, but was mad when she didn't get as much as she wanted. After the decree I started getting suspicious because Jane and I have equal access to Mandy's college fund, so I decided to add in special protections and alerts. I'm the primary on the account and Jane was just an authorized signer. Unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed and I received a call from the bank about an attempt to take out $10,000. It was Jane, and I was pissed. So pissed that I went to Jane's place and yelled and cursed at her. I knew Mandy was out at the time, so I thought I was in the clear, but didn't realize when she and my former Mill pulled up to the driveway. Mandy didn't hear everything, but she did learn about what her mom tried to do. Mandy is now upset and acting out, and when Jane tries to discipline her, Mandy counters that she'll just live with me and lose the child support Jane and Tom desperately need. Jane is now asking me to help her put up a united front. But after what she did, I'm not looking into doing her any favors. However, my Mill thinks that by allowing Mandy to play us against each other it will end up hurting her. Am I the asshole? ETA. Hey, had to step away, but I've been seeing the comments. Thanks for the not the asshole, everyone sucks here tips and advice. I haven't gone through all the comments yet, however I do keep seeing a few things that I just wanted to clear up. 1. Ever since Mandy was 10 I've talked to her more than once about her living with me when she wanted to. I say this because it feels like some people here believe that I've never told Mandy that she could live with me if she wanted, which isn't the case. When the divorce first happened I wasn't in a position to be a full-time parent because of my hectic work schedule, but now I'm able to. 2. Because of my job I live an hour away, so Mandy would have to switch schools, but a few people have pointed out to me that she may be able to finish the school year virtually, so I will be looking into that. 3. Jane has never put in more than $100 at a time into Mandy's college fund, and it was only once every couple of months, which is one of the reasons why I was so angry at her, since I'm the main contributor. 4. Only one attempt was made to take out the money, and Jane claims that it was an accident and that she was trying to put $100 into the account, but I don't believe her. Jane also says that since it was a one-time accident she doesn't feel the need to apologize and is of the mindset that parents don't need to give their underage children an apology. 5. While Mandy admits to mentioning the loss of child support as a threat once, Jane keeps insisting that it's happened multiple times and give her recent actions, I don't believe her. 6. Jane claims that Mandy is acting out by not doing her chores, not going to bed when she's supposed to, ignoring Jane when she calls her, calling her and her stepdad losers, not cleaning up after herself, cussing and painting her nails. Jane doesn't believe young girls should wear makeup, dye their hair, get highlights, or paint their nails. Not the asshole, but go get your daughter out of there. She is old enough now that court will consider her request with whom she wants to live, and you have proof of the shady things your ex tried to do with your daughter's money. And if you tell the truth, I bet your daughter isn't seeing much of her child support. You pay that money to be used for your daughter, not the life of two adults that steal from their child. Not the asshole, it isn't your fault that your daughter realized her mother is willing to steal from her, and only keeps her around to get your money. I would advise getting your kid into therapy if she isn't already. Dealing with this nastiness is obviously doing a number on her. If you do so, you might even be able to spin it as helping with Mandy's behavior to Jane. You don't want Mandy's resentment of her mother to negatively impact Mandy's life, as she likely feels incredibly betrayed. Not the asshole. I'd go for full custody though. It sounds like your daughter is in a toxic environment. I feel like this sort of depends. I mean, is Mandy literally throwing the money thing at her mom every single time she tries to discipline her? Because that is not okay. Teens need discipline. And your daughter really shouldn't be manipulating her mother like that, threatening to move out to get her way. If Mandy doesn't want to live with her mom, which I would understand given what she did, then she should just move out. I feel like this whole situation is so toxic it could really teach Mandy some bad life lessons. Edit to include verdict. Not the asshole. Edit to fix spelling. Not the asshole. Look into full custody and make sure your ex has zero access to that college fund. Not the asshole. Reading some of your responses, you should sit with your daughter and make sure she is aware of the full ramifications of living full time with you, especially switching schools, and then let her decide. Not the asshole. However, this is about your daughter, and despite what she overheard, I'm sure she loves her mom and is feeling very confused and betrayed. As hard as it may be, I would request a sit-down with daughter and ex to discuss all the current issues, be honest, and if ex won't, then so be it. Your daughter has her own mind in this, she's feeling betrayed already, make sure she gets any support she needs. Not the asshole. Your ex was stealing from your kid. The only united front that can exist there is you and your child. Maybe court for primary custody? Mandy is grown enough to not need 24/7 babysitting while you work. Am I the asshole for hiding the soda? I feel ridiculous for even posting, but I need objective eyes on this. Background. 1 husband, 2 stepkids, M15, M17. Married 5 years. We keep separate financial accounts if that makes a difference, and we alternate who buys groceries week to week. Anyway, here's the deal: I don't drink coffee. I drink Mountain Dew or the occasional energy drink for my morning caffeine kick. My husband and the oldest stepson are both coffee drinkers. With increasing frequency, I'll go to grab a drink out of the fridge and all of the soda and energy drinks are gone. The kids have taken to coming home and grabbing 2 to 3 or more sodas, and before they left to their mom's house last week, the 15-year-old was actually packing a 6-pack into his backpack to go. The obvious solution, I thought, was to buy more soda. Yes, I know, it's awful for the kids, but if their dad isn't stopping them from sucking down junk food, it's not my deal to intervene. Nope. Still gone to where I'd look in the fridge for one single, much-needed energy boost and nada. So I started asking my husband to pick up soda or a few energy drinks on his grocery shopping week to supplement. His response was that he's not wasting money on garbage like that, and to complain about how expensive things like Mountain Dew are these days. Next tactic was to ask that if the kids drink the soda that they please leave a few behind if it's obvious we're almost out, so I have at least 1 or 2 when I go to grab one. This is where things took a turn for the worse. My husband got irritated that I was policing the food, and that no one who lives here should have asked permission to eat or drink. Fine, I figured if I wanted to have a Mountain Dew or energy drink to myself, then I would just put a little mini fridge in my office and stash a few in there. I got a tiny fridge that holds a 6-pack and popped a few in there. I put the cases I buy in my office as well and put a week's worth in the main fridge at a time so they last until I shop again. Yesterday, the 15-year-old complained that there hadn't been Mountain Dew in the fridge for a few days, and my husband grumpily said, "Go get them out of OP's office. She's hiding food and snacks from you guys in there." At this point I put my foot down and said I'm hanging on to some of the drinks that I like every week because otherwise I don't get any. And if everyone else drank what I put in the fridge for them before I shopped again and my husband didn't want to buy any himself, that's just too bad. My husband still refuses to buy the soda himself, but is convinced I'm being a complete and total jerk because I'm hiding what I purchase. Am I being completely oblivious to my own asshole behavior here, or is this as lopsided as I think it is? Not the asshole. He's not wasting money on garbage, but he's perfectly happy for you to spend your money and not even get to drink your soda. He's being a jerk and a cheapskate. If he wants his kids to have it, he can start buying it. Not the asshole. You're getting completely railroaded here. This is the kind of petty shit that would lead me to die on this hill. I mean, saving a Mountain Dew for a morning beverage sounds absolutely foul to me, but that's up to you, I guess. But if this were something I actually liked, I'd lose my mind. Put a lock on your mini-fridge. Then sit your husband down and tell him exactly why you have it there and that none of the stuff in your fridge will be shared. If you want, just reach an agreement with him about how much soda you're buying for the communal fridge, then leave it at that. Not the asshole. That's wild, op. If hiding it is the only way you get any, then that's what you have to do. Especially seeing as husband refuses to buy some himself, but doesn't want to tell his kids to stop taking every single one. Your husband is the asshole here, big time. Not the asshole. It was always a rule in my house growing up that you don't drink the last of anything without asking if whoever bought it, usually mom and dad, wanted it. It's just common courtesy. If the kids want soda, then they should either buy it themselves or have dad buy it. And they definitely should not be taking in from your house to their moms. Not the asshole. I'm from a blended family. My mom loves Diet Coke and does the food shop, so the rule is we are 22-28 now and mostly moved out, that there has to be at least one can in the fridge at all times, and when we were older and able to drive, we would be expected to occasionally buy a box too. 15 and 17 is old enough to know better and to buy their own. Both my parents and step-parents would have been really annoyed if we'd taken a six-pack from one parent's house to the other. Your husband is way out of line. Not the asshole. Die on this hill, op. I have a teenage son who wouldn't dare drink or eat the last of my favorite things in the house. It's called respect. I assume that your husband and his ex had a very contentious divorce and he is overcompensating to counteract the negativity and stigma being ingrained in his kids by his ex. Maybe it's deserved, maybe not? Either way, it is not your responsibility to acquiesce to becoming everyone else's doormat, and to pay for the privilege. Not the asshole. Your husband can feed and water his own kids. Not the asshole. You don't drink coffee, and it's your caffeine, even if it is slightly unhealthy. He needs to buy some himself if he wants the kids to be able to drink it, because you need something to drink in the morning before work. Is he normally like this with stuff you don't agree on? Am I the asshole for telling my parents it is their fault I felt relieved about brother's death? This Sunday was my 23m brother's 28m funeral. Nearly everyone from the family attended, just some of the eldest couldn't because of COVID. I haven't seen my family since years and saw them again at the funeral. So everyone said his goodbye and took a look at my brother who laid down in the casket. Some cried and some hold their tears back. As I have looked at him, I just felt totally relieved, not sad. Maybe a little sorry for him. However, the same night I just planned to stay at my parents' house the first time after years again. Some old childhood friend came over to wish their condolences and also my best friend. We got to my old room, and he brought alcohol, and we drank. I am someone who just keeps talking and let out his feelings, while drunk, and so I talked. What we didn't knew is that my cousin, 15F, has recorded us without our notice and showed everything to my parents. To put you guys in the picture, my brother is a mentally ill person who had the intelligence of a 3-4-year-old, he wasn't even able to be vocal about many things. As I was younger, my parents tried to raise me with the only purpose of being his caregiver, and I hated it. They forced to clean my brother as I was 10-11 years old, because I had to learn it anyway. It grossed me out to clean him, change his cloth and change his diapers. I hated him, and my parents. As a 14-year-old, I started to act out and the police had to bring me back home a couple of times. Even CPS was involved but nothing happened first. The last time before actions happened, I escaped home for about 2 weeks, before police had found me with the rest of the money I stole from Dad's pocket. Then a therapist talked with me from CPS, and it was clear I couldn't go back home. However, this Monday morning my parents, my aunt and cousin waited for me downstairs to confront me. There were a lot of yelling this little goblin recorded me speaking about for 40 minutes. Finally, I burst out and admit that I feel relieved that my brother died and that it was their fault that I hated him. It just bothers me all the time at the moment and I honestly don't know if I am wrong here. While I feel good about it being out of my system, I think it was unfair to kick my grieving parents as they were already suffering. AITA? ETA. First of all, I am thankful for all the responses, positive or negative. Some people asked detailed and private and I decide to answer some. My family is a very oppressive kind of family and everyone has to obey a certain set of rules. In our culture, children are seen more as possession rather than actual people for themselves. The final straw for CPS and the therapist was as I admitted to fantasize about harming my brother. The only reason why I attended the funeral was because I thought it would be a closure. Since CPS took me from family, I lived in a sort of assistant group house with other children who had their problems with their families, until I reached the age of 18. I don't plan to take legal action against the goblin above, it's not worth the hadash. I created this account to be anonym and don't care if anyone use my post above for his content on any platform. I am still in contact with professional therapists, and I think I have my life in order. Not the asshole. You were the victim of parentification, and it was abhorrently wrong for your parents to force that on you. The cousin that filmed it with the sole intention of causing drama can go kick rocks too. Not the asshole. Your cousin is an ass who needs to be taught about privacy. Your parents are the biggest asses here though. That is no way to raise a kid. He was their child, their responsibility, and not yours. You were a kid. You deserved your own life, childhood, dreams and goals. Not to take back seat to their other kid. It is unacceptable for them to assign you the lifelong responsibility of caring for a dependent, even more so when you were still a child. I understand they felt like they had to make arrangements, but that should have been financial planning for an eventual care home when they could no longer care for him, not training up their second kid to do so. Not the asshole. You were having a personal conversation with your friend. It was meant to stay between you two, but your little brat of a cousin recorded it. Parents who raise kids to be caretakers of a disabled person suck as parents. You didn't get the proper childhood because you were too busy clean up after someone. You should be playing sports or hanging out with friends. If you parents needed help, then they should have hired a trained caretaker. None of this fighting would have happened if your cousin didn't record you. I think it's best that you don't see your family for a while. They clearly don't care about you or your feelings if they resulted in yelling at you for expressing how you felt as a kid. Not the asshole. And I highly recommend reading the book, Running on Empty. There are literal chapters describing what you've laid out here. Heart. Not the asshole. 1. You are always entitled to your feelings. 2. Your parents were the asshole for making a child a caregiver for a disabled sibling. 3. Your rightly described goblin of a cousin. WTH is with her recording conversations? Not the asshole, and I'm sorry. You're absolutely right to feel this way. Your parents were above and beyond horrible. Not the asshole. It's terrible that your cousin recorded you without your knowledge. Even though your feelings may sound harsh, you're entitled to feel how you feel. It doesn't sound like you would have communicated those feelings to your parents if you hadn't been pushed. Not the asshole. No one should be confronted at a funeral. Sorry for your loss and for the loss of your childhood. Am I the asshole if I don't want to pay back my husband for buying me a car that I didn't even want? An ex-boyfriend bought me a 2019 Jeep Cherokee, 35,000 miles, and my husband hates the car. He wants me to trade this car for a 2012 BMW X5, 127,000 miles, because he test drove it and it's faster than my Jeep and apparently it's safer for me and our baby. I said no. 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 30k miles for 127k miles? Not to mention the costs of repairs. He went ahead and bought the BMW and is waiting for me to sell my car so I can pay him back. The BMW already has issues. Bluetooth doesn't work. None of the electronic ports work. He drives the BMW to work. I've never even sat on the driver's seat. I still have my Jeep. I refuse to cash out my Jeep for a car I didn't want to buy in the first place. ETA. Since relationship timeline was in question. Ex-boyfriend situation happened while then baby daddy and I were separated. We reconciled and got married 2 weeks ago. Ex-boyfriend refused to take the car back after I offered. Not the asshole. I'm assuming he just hates your current car because your ex bought it for you. Either way, you specifically said no to something and he did it anyway, so you're not in any way financially responsible for the stupid decision that he made explicitly against your wishes. Not the asshole. The two cars aren't even vaguely similar. It seems to me he wanted a BMW, and he wanted you to give up your car to pay for it. This is not a decision for him to make unilaterally, trading in your, very good, car for one he wants for himself. An ex-boyfriend bought you the 2019 car, and you're already married to this new fellow? This sounds like a bit of a married in haste situation. Think carefully about what the future will be like tied to someone who makes such a ridiculously foolish financial decision and expects you to pay for the mess. I don't see how. No is a gray area. You said you wouldn't sell your car. Don't. He now owns an old BMW with problems and can deal with it. Not the asshole. Your issue isn't the car. He's disrespectful and very controlling. Wow. How is this even close to being okay? NTA. Not the asshole. This was a non-consensual and controlling act. Do not be forced to pay him or trade. I run one of biggest international Jeep Cherokee forums. Your vehicle is incredibly safe and is using the newest crash and safely technology and materials. The Cherokee is very luxurious inside and has the more modern technology than 7-year-old SUV. Don't trade down into a worn-out SUV just so he can have that BMW badge. Family cars do not need to be faster. Not the asshole. Your husband knows absolutely nothing about cars if he wants a 2012 BMW. BMW are one of the most expensive cars to get maintenance on, and you will probably end up paying more for repairs on it than the OG price. Not the asshole. You don't buy a car without consulting your spouse. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not the asshole. Your husband's jealousy over your ex is clouding his judgment. Tell him to sell the BMW and work on his jealousy issues.